Hello, Transurfer and the Transurfing Curious. My name is Renee Garcia, guys, and this is TransurfingTV. And today on TransurfingTV, RT Ecstasy, Reality Transurfing Ecstasy. This is kind of something that I tap every once in a while. Well, probably a little bit more than every once in a while at this point. I'm probably hitting RT Ecstasy I would say at least once a day now, where I have at least a few hours where I'm just like, man, how can reality be this good? How can reality be this good? Now, I'm kind of on auto RT Ecstasy pilot. I don't really have to consciously think of steps to take any longer to get myself there, simply because I've raised my base level of my state, right? I've raised my base state of being up. So if you are new to this channel, new to transurfing, or have watched some of my videos and you've seen me sort of reference those parallel versions of reality stacked linear on top of each other. When I was not transurfing, before I found transurfing, I resonated at some of those very lower stages of reality, lower states of being, depression, anxiety, low feelings of self-worth, all that kind of stuff. And since being so into this knowledge, I've raised the bar, right? So that used to be where I was almost all the time. Maybe I would go up about halfway, but I'd always sort of find myself back to my base state. My base state is now even above the halfway line. If you like to sort of view reality as 10, I like to say 10. There's an infinite number, but for me to understand with my mind that understands limitations a little bit easier, I like to view reality as having 10 different variations that are practical for me in my everyday life, right? So my base state of being is now above even the halfway point. So in order for me to access that kind of RT bliss, that RT ecstasy, that's getting up to some of those higher lifelines, accessing the wave of fortune, all that good stuff, it's pretty easy because my base state of being isn't so far away that it takes me a lot to get to that place, to that level, right? If you want to look at it like that. So this is what Reality Transurfing has to offer for everyone, is that you can raise your base state of being, your typical worldview, the emotions, the frequency, how you feel on a daily basis. You can bring all of that stuff up. And then when you get into a little bit of a groove, in your day, then accessing that highest level is pretty easy and pretty regular and pretty frequent. So again, this video is for everyone, but it's really going to be for those of you that are new to this modality and you're like, man, I want some RT ecstasy. Sounds pretty good. It is pretty good. And the cool thing is you're not doing anything illegal. You're not having to take any drugs. You don't have to risk going to jail. You're not going to upset anyone. Well, okay, so you might upset a couple people if you're riding high all the time and, other people aren't feeling so good and they're like, well, what's going on with you? Why are you feeling so good? People might try to burst your bubble a little bit at first, but as I will get into it in my steps, there's a very easy way to deal with people that want to bring you down a size if you are in fact rising up. So before I get into my 5 little quick ways to access RT ecstasy or RT bliss, remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment below. Let me know if you are on the reg accessing RT bliss or RT ecstasy. It's pretty prevalent, I think, in the community of steady transurfers. It's kind of why we're doing it, right? But maybe if you are an advanced transurfer, you could give a little more insight below in the comments for those of you that are just finding Reality Transurfing. Join us on the Facebook group, International Transurfing Institute Facebook group, Reality_Transurfing on Instagram, and the courses, Reality 2.0 and TFT 2.0, links below, teachable. They are awesome courses if you feel so inclined to dive in. Okay, so first thing you must do in order to start the process of raising the bar on your state of being to where you can hit these higher states pretty easily, right? Because we don't want to do, what we don't want to do is we don't want to be in our lows, create a bunch of excess potential about wanting to experience a higher version of reality, hit a high, go back down low. And here's the interesting thing. When you first start transurfing, this is going to happen to you. This happened to me, and I've heard this similar story from lots and lots and lots of people. And why this phenomenon occurs is this sort of roller coaster when you first find RT, is because you are hitting some of those highs with this knowledge. This knowledge will definitely facilitate you getting on a pink cloud, right? But you're programming the version of yourself that you've been living with for years, decades, has to get into a habitual and systematic kind of practice to fully utilize and, get into these concepts in every part of the mindset and the reality, right? Let me try to break that down a little bit easier. So I'll just give my example, my personal example of what happened for me. Found transurfing knowledge, hit those highs at RT Bliss, at RT Ecstasy. But then when I was hitting that RT Bliss, I would be like out on my walks by myself and like doing things that I wanted to do. Then I would go home, and my boyfriend at the time was not happy about me finding a new thing that I liked or being away from home for a few hours, going for walks. I know, crazy, right? And where are you? Start questioning me, and sort of the old dynamic that had not yet been managed by Reality Transurfing would show up and be the most prevalent part of my reality rather than my transurfing mind, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like I would be on a pink cloud, I'd be feeling good, and then I go home and downer boyfriend starts an argument with me, and all of a sudden I'm sucked out of transurfing self back into old self. I don't even realize what has occurred. Pendulums hooked me, right? And then it would maybe be a few days until I would think to myself, oh, I wonder what happened. That's kind of weird. I was feeling super good, and then all of a sudden, like I was back to my old mindset. So again, it's not only a system to elevate your state of being permanently if you want it to, it's a system to help you manage your external reality. And if you have not yet managed your reality and those old pendulums are still around you, hooking you and triggering you, and maybe stuff like the news getting you, sucking you back in, or your boss at work nagging you or whatever, this is all going to cause a little bit of up and down chaos, right? And what the idea is that you bring up those lower states. You bring up that state you find yourself in when you get triggered by an external pendulum and it takes you down to the depths, right? And you don't allow that to happen to yourself anymore. So then your base level is like either neutral or above. And then your dips are like you go high and then maybe you go back down to neutral, but you never go below neutral, right? This is the cool thing about Reality Transurfing. It eliminates a lot of those lower tracks, those lower states of being, depression, anxiety, all that kind of stuff, if you work it, right? If you work it. So the first thing you got to do is assess your position, right? Number one, assess your position. If you were to view your life practically with this little model of like there's 10 different variations of reality that are available to you on any given day. The top being you're the happiest, you're productive, good things are going your way, you're getting along with everyone in your life, a really, really good day. And then the bottom is a really, really bad day, self-esteem's in the dumps, depression, anxiety, not feeling well, arguing with family, fight with boyfriend, wife, husband, whatever, lost job, crappy things happening, right? So assessing what level you're sort of on and then taking note of that. So let's say the bottom level is a 1, right? That's the worst. You're like, damn, well, I'm probably only like a level 3. So working to get yourself up to maybe a 5, right? And then if you dip down, you only dip down to a 4, and then working to get yourself up to a 6. And then if you dip down, you only go down to a 5. Catch my drift? Like you're going to, with awareness, start assessing your state of being, your emotional state, your reality as you're experiencing it. You're going to like quantify it. You're going to apply a number or assign it a number so you can keep track of how you're feeling with the intent that the idea is to go up, right? It's to go up in levels. So after you sort of assessed your position, then if you're down on some of those lower lifelines, it's about working to get yourself up. So imagine this, something's weighing you down. That's why you're down on those bottom levels. And it's kind of like you have weights on you. You're going to have to cut some of those weights, sever those cords. These could be toxic relationships, lower frequency activities like watching the news, social media, all that kind of junk, right? This could be junk food. It could be smoking cigarettes, taking drugs, drinking alcohol. It could be any sort of low frequency activity or anything that's causing you depression, anxiety, self-doubt, shame, any sort of negative feelings. And then you are going to work to add things to your repertoire that are higher. So what I'm saying now to people is get rid of 5 things that are lower and add 5 things that are higher. And I know this is kind of like easier said than done, especially if it's things like drinking or smoking cigarettes or, participating in toxic relationships or all that kind of stuff. But at least you can set the intention, right? You're going to get rid of 5 bad things and you're going to replace it with 5 higher things or 5 lower things, 5 higher things, right? And keep in mind and remember that reality is simply a mirror. If you start dropping that stuff that's keeping you down and your thoughts improve, even just slightly, your reality is going to present to you more ways in which you can improve, and then building those 5 things out that are going to replace those 5 lower nature things or those 5 lower frequency things is going to be quite easy because your world's going to be helping you. Your mirror, right? Your mirror is going to be helping you. So set the intention to get rid of 5 and add 5, and at the same time, remember the mirror. All reality is doing is reflecting back to us a mirror image of our actions, attitude, and beliefs towards it. Even if it's just limiting beliefs, replace it with a positive belief. If it's a weird relationship, replace it with a positive relationship. Things will improve quickly if you can keep this in mind. Number 3, don't let negative information into your layer of reality. This is a big one. If you want to achieve some RT ecstasy, right? I am very, very, very aware of the information that's coming into my reality. If I look at something online, let's say like the news or something, which is kind of infrequent, but if I do, maybe once or twice a week I do this weird thing where I only look at the most neutral sort of media outlets. And I do this thing where I scan really quick, and anything that's of lower nature, I've trained myself to not even look. Like I can just sense it's of lower nature. And anything that has to do with like war, people talking bad things about politics or whatever, it just goes right by. And then I focus like, are there any scientific advancements, or is there anything interesting happening with Bitcoin, or is there any, like just stuff that's going to feed me. Everything else, all the negative information, I just completely cast out of my reality. If somebody comes to me and they're gossiping about someone, I'm like, hey, I gotta go, right? If I'm not interested in partaking in the gossip. Now, this is a practice that I have cultivated over time. It's highly effective, but really start to manage the information coming into the layer of your world and make certain that you do not let negative information into your layer of reality. Vadim Zeland is very, very blunt about this in the book. Do not let negative information into your layer of reality. Just like the getting rid of 5 things and adding 5 things, not allowing negative information into your layer of reality is like you getting rid of junk. It's you not taking on junk, right? Because remember, whatever we focus on exponentially increases in our layer of reality. Number 4, this is a valuable one. So remember my analogy or my example of me going out into the world with transurfing, going out for a walk, feeling great. I'm on a pink cloud. Everything feels awesome. I love my world. I love myself. I'm having a good reality transurfing kind of time. And then I go home and my boyfriend starts to nag me. I would let his behaviors, his state of being, his ways to pendulum me, right? And it would hook me and it would send me going back down. Now, in understanding the value of allowing others to be themselves and allowing me to be myself as well, and utilizing the concept of frailing, looking back retrospectively, I mean, I dumped the guy because I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. But looking back on it retrospectively, I could have probably frailed him a little bit more. All he really wanted to know is I wasn't going on some, flight of fancy and going to forget about him in the relationship, which ultimately did happen. He actually created that scenario. But all he really wanted was to know that I was there, and I could probably have just given him a little more FaceTime, right? And reassured him or engaged with him in a positive way, because that's sort of what frailing is it's giving the other person what it is they're looking for and you getting what you need in return, but all on the plane of positivity, right? And allowing others to be themselves, and at the same time you being true to who you are. This is like reality lubricant as well. As soon as you call out somebody else's behavior or have conflict with another person, you are down to some of those lower layers of reality. If you can allow others to be themselves and not let it hook you, then they're allowed to do their thing. You're not caught up in it. Therefore, your layer of reality doesn't struggle or suffer, right? So it's all about just letting things be the way that they are, and you keeping your intention in mind that you want to hit those higher lifelines. You want to be in RT bliss or RT ecstasy. You don't want to be in an induced transition, and you want to have a good time, right? So that's kind of like the intention, the goal, the objective. Number 5, look to your world. So you've done all this stuff, right? You've assessed your position. You've gotten rid of some stuff holding you back. You've added some things that are good for you in your reality. You're not letting negative information into your layer of reality. You're allowing the other people in your life to be themselves, and at the same time, you're being you. And then lastly, this has to do with outer intention and your world, and also your mirror. Look to your world for magic, opportunities, and surprises, and turn your reality into a game, right? Especially if it's challenging situations to navigate, like your work, your professional life. Really get in there and look at it as though it's a game, and that there are going to be amazing things that you're going to encounter and interesting opportunities and little magical events. And I know this sounds kind of crazy, but it does absolutely work. And tune your frequency to that, right? Tune your frequency to that. Because as soon as you catch the wave of that kind of stuff, reality does become fun and you do hit that RT bliss, right? You hit that RT bliss. And the cool thing about this is you can just be living your everyday reality life, your everyday life, your normal reality. You're not doing anything different. You're not making any massive changes. You're still driving the same car to the same job, seeing the same people, doing the same stuff, fulfilling your same obligations as a human being, going to the grocery store, putting gas in your car, paying your bills. But you're tuned to a different frequency. And this is exactly why Reality Transurfing has turned me into a believer and has turned a lot of people in this community into believers, because it's powerful. There's another channel if you want to turn the channel right. And that's RT Bliss. So let me know your thoughts on this one, everybody. I'm curious to hear, have you experienced this? Are you in RT Bliss right now? Do you access this state easily? Are you struggling with some of those lower layers of reality and you maybe want to utilize what I'm talking about here to bring yourself up? Reality Transurfing is going to help you. And for those of you that are like, God, that sounds really great, I want to do that, but you haven't read the book, read the book. You are going to gain the knowledge in reading the book to help you do this effectively and comprehensively, right? And that's the key. So let me know your thoughts, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in a couple days. Bye, y'all.